Welcome back to Voices Beyond Labels, a space where we unbox neurodiversity one conversation at a time. And today we are doing something a little bit different. So I don't have a group today. I have someone very important that I think a lot of you would like to hear from. His name is Stephen, an adult who's living with ADHD in Nigeria. But he's also a speech therapist who helps people on the spectrum to thrive. Stephen, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
And I'm really glad you accepted to come.
Thank you.
So could you just introduce yourself just in one sentence for us?
Okay, so my name is Stephen, like you rightly mentioned. And like you said, I've actually been experiencing ADHD. Although I grew up to become an adult before I was able to confirm that, okay? And for this reason, I've decided to see how I can also help individuals on the spectrum, basically because in Nigeria, the awareness is quite low and the way the children are being treated are actually not fair, so to say. So for that reason, I'm definitely here to raise awareness and also bring light to this particular field. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, so Stephen, take me back to your childhood. How was it like for you? Did you know something was different about you, or did your family notice?
Okay. If you say I should take you back to my childhood now, I'm just trying to think because there's so many things I can remember, and you may just have to sleep here if I actually want to say everything. But I'm glad you bring it to talking about if I was able to confirm if I was on the spectrum or my family noticed anything different. But I would say my family did not notice, right? And the reason is because they are not aware of ADHD. Here in Africa, especially in Nigeria, they tend to feel like the child is either stubborn, right? Or the child isn't serious with life, or the child does not want to learn, or the child does not want to be obedient.
Or has spiritual problems.
I was going to get there, in fact, right? Or they'll say the child has spiritual problem and sort of, right? So for my own case, my parents just thought I was that child who was stubborn and does not want to be obedient. Rather, I was just seeing things in a different light and just wanted to follow my own light. Okay. And I've felt so in so many ways. I felt down. I felt let down in different aspects, both in school, both by my parents, I would say. And I really do not blame them, because they are not aware. Even my teachers in school as then, I do not blame them as well because they were not aware and they were not trained. But right now, we are bringing this to light and we are bringing so much awareness to it so that people can be aware of this particular condition and also know how exactly they could follow through with individual on the spectrum.
So for the sake of our listeners who don't know what ADHD means, it's actually attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And what that simply means is for some individuals, they have very short attention span. They can't sit still, especially for kids who maybe in school, it will look like they don't listen to instructions or they don't do what they're being told or they don't stay in one place. Some people, it comes in their behavior. They have issues with self-control. And all of that. Mm-hmm. Because for my daughter, when we were told she was on the autism spectrum and that she also had ADHD, I was like, which one is ADHD again? Like, I don't understand, Yeah. And then they said that's the reason why she's always hyper, because my daughter could jump from morning till night without getting tired. She could jump around and, always jumping around. And then sometimes you're trying to get her to focus. Like, for example, if you're trying to get her to do her homework, she comes and writes one word and she's off. And I'm like, what is this? So
Yeah.
it appears like that for some individuals.
Mhm.
And a lot of times in Nigeria, we see it as this child is very stubborn. This child, they hear word.
That's the classification.
Yeah, this child
Yeah.
doesn't hear, doesn't listen,
Mhm.
and then sometimes they try to beat it out of them. So
Mm.
was that the same for you? Did your parents, were your parents the strict type that felt like we need to beat this thing out of this child?
Okay. For my dad, yes, I would say. But for my mom, it wasn't like that. Okay. So for you to know, I'm the last child of my family. All right. I know how parents, especially mothers, right, can be so caring when it comes to their last child.
Born.
All right, exactly. So my mom was that woman who would, always care for me and try to motivate me, even when it comes to academic work. And I could still remember there was a time my mom said something to me that I can never forget. My mom was like my therapist. That's what I would say, And what she said to me that day that I did not forget up to today that really helped me when I was in school. I think I was in JSS3 as at then, right? Yeah. She told me, she said, anytime my mind is trying to wander around, that I should try to be aware of it, then bring my mind back to the classroom, especially when the teacher is in class.
Did that help?
It helped me a lot, sincerely, right? It really helped me. That's why I could not forget up to today. So immediately I started doing that because I could just be in the classroom and the teacher is also in the classroom, but man, I've wandered away. I'm just thinking of something else, probably the cartoon I watched the day before, and I would just keep, wondering maybe how I would go outside to go and play and do other things. My imagination was just so wild. All right. And those are the things children are experiencing right now. Their imagination is so wild due to a lot of things that they are seeing, especially the fact that there's this availability of screen wherever they go, right? So for my own case, my mom told me that, and it really helped me.
But was it difficult for you to bring your mind back to the subject of the matter?
It was at first, right? Yeah. But with time, with practice, right, I began to master my attention with time, right? Even till now, I still wonder, but however, I'm still able to bring my mind back to whatever it is. Okay.
So what are the other things that you experience? Because a lot of people, like for my daughter, I wish I could ask her, how do you feel? Like, how is this ADHD doing you? How do you feel? Like, what are the things that you do, because of the ADHD? What are the symptoms?
So the symptoms, right? So it's actually inattention.
Okay.
Yeah, inattention. Then forgetfulness. Yeah, I easily forget things. As at then, you could talk to me. Even now, you could talk to me, and I'll tend to forget. But later on, I'll get to remember, and I might just call you and tell you, "Oh, I remember you saying this, and this was the right answer I was supposed to give to you." Yeah. So also remember I was telling you before now, anxiety disorder. Yeah. When I see crowd and I am expected to, I am the spotlight. All right. Maybe I'm expected to speak or I'm expected to do something that will bring the attention of people to me. Yeah. I get this anxiety. Yeah. And when that comes, I try to control it. I try my best. It comes and I'm able to scale through, but when I leave that environment, I begin to think a lot. Then one symptoms again is overthinking, right? Yeah, I think a lot of the littlest things you could think of. Yeah, I think a lot. I was just telling you, if I am in a crowd and I'm expected to present, I finish giving the presentation, I could just go outside and start thinking, did I sit well? Was my collar well arranged? My hand positioning, were they moving appropriately and all of that. So overthinking, right, is part of it. Yeah. So that's for an adult anyway. Yeah. But
so when did you get a formal diagnosis that confirmed that You have ADHD.
All right. So I think I was lucky enough. Yeah. I'm trying to say, if you want to put it in a religious form, right? We will likely say maybe it's my calling, to be ADHD so that I can assist other individuals who are actually on the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
If you get what I'm trying to say, right? Yeah. So I feel like I'm lucky enough because it's my profession. For that reason, I was able to know that I'm actually on the spectrum, right? So I'll give you. Let me give you a brief story of when I wanted to go to school. So it was time to go to school, and all I really wanted to study was math communication. All right. But it didn't work out for me. So I had to travel to go see my brother in Niger State because he was actually preparing for his wedding. So I decided to just try out an admission in school um, in Niger State. And there was this course I saw there. My intention was never to go to that school, in fact. This course that is called special education.
Okay.
Right? So special education. So my thoughts when I saw special was thinking, okay, they were going to treat us, specially, we will have that kind of special treatment in school. That was my thought. After picking that course, I got home, my elder brother saw the course I actually picked and he started laughing at me. I was like, okay, so what's the problem? Why are you laughing? Fast forward to when I started doing my admission and everything, started attending lecture, and my lecturer came on board, started telling us things about individuals who are actually experiencing ADHD, speech delay, autism, Down syndrome, and all of it. And they started giving the symptoms. So I was listening and I started to feel like, was it not all of these things I was actually experiencing when I was much younger? And in fact, I'm still experiencing it right now. It's just that I've grown to a certain level where I can now cope. I can control my behavior. I can control my attitude around, So I felt like, okay, if this is it, then I need to pay more attention, and hear whatever it is. It kept on going. That's how I got interested, So
it was more or less self-diagnosed.
Yeah. So that's how I got interested and followed up, and I discovered, okay. So I needed to call my mom and started asking certain questions. Like, okay, at what age did I started talking? I think she said almost 3 years before I started talking, But as at then, they don't see it. They don't see a child that isn't talking at the age of 2 to be anything.
Yes.
They feel like it's just not talking early. With time, it's going to talk.
Talker.
It's just a late talker, exactly. So that's what they felt. But eventually I started talking. She said at age 3, that while I was asking, I explained to her. She said, okay, no problem. So I gained more interest and followed up, and I started a foundation in that particular field. And till today, we're still going on with it, and this is where we are.
Amazing.
Right, yeah.
So do you think children that has ADHD can thrive without therapy? Because like you said, you didn't even know you got self-diagnosed as an adult. So would you tell parents who have children that have been formally diagnosed with ADHD to just don't worry about it, they'll grow up and then they'll cope?
Okay. I would not advise any parent not to go for therapy. Reason being because it's better you go for the therapy rather than being on the fence, right? So remember I used the word, I think I was lucky. Okay, yeah. Remember also I said back then, for a child that isn't talking at the age of 2, you just feel like the child is actually going to talk later in life, right? And for my own case, later in life, I started talking. But there are some children who may not talk. And the reason that was happening was because there was this low awareness and also therapy, speech therapy. Who knows about speech therapy?
But does ADHD affect speech?
Yeah, it can.
It can?
Yeah.
I thought it was mostly autism.
ADHD can come with autism, right?
Yeah, but in a case where it didn't come with autism, like in your case, it didn't come with autism.
Yeah.
But can it come with delayed speech?
Yeah, it can. It can. So you can come ADHD and speech delay can coexist, right, in a child. Yeah. So it can. So so I would actually advise parents to go for therapy. Yeah. So that you don't just stay on the fence. Because the truth remains, if the child is meant to talk or to overcome ADHD later in life, right? And you go for the therapy, we are still aiming towards the same goal.
Yeah.
You understand, right? So it's better you go rather than being on the fence and not too sure. How about if the child doesn't come out and the therapy was meant to help the child to come out of it?
Yeah.
So it's better. It's a win-win.
Yeah.
Every way. Yeah.
Yeah. But I honestly believe that we have a lot of undiagnosed Nigerians that have ADHD. As a matter of fact, I think most of our parents probably had ADHD. Because when I think about their behavior sometimes,
right.
These people probably have ADHD.
True.
You know,
Yes.
even online, we see a lot of public figures. We see some people come online and
I see
they behave weirdly, and then they could have ADHD. You know, so it's not something that's, because I hear some people say this whole autism ADHD, it's the Westerners that are bringing it to Africa. I don't think it's true. I feel like, it's even a very ridiculous statement.
Yeah.
Because I feel like this thing has been there for a long time. But we're just getting aware of it now.
Exactly, very correct. That's what I was about to say. It's just the rise of awareness, right?
Yeah.
That it's making us, know that these things exist. Yeah. Okay, let me give you an instance, right? Before I got here, right, in the office, I have a 47 years old man that comes for therapy and he's actually on the spectrum.
Autism spectrum.
Yeah. So he's on the spectrum and he's 47 years. So that means 47 years ago, we already had ADHD existing in Africa.
And autism.
Yeah, and autism existing in Africa. So these are the children that tend to, tag as witchcraft,
or maybe this one has mental problem,
or male retarded. I still remember. I now got to remember one. There was this man in our area as at then. That man knows how to calculate anything you give to him when it comes to numbers. He's very good with numbers. He will calculate, but he doesn't know how to stay silent. He just talks to himself and walk around. You see him walking around. But when he draws attention to you, he will listen to you, respond to you, sometimes correctly, sometimes not correct, But when it comes to math, so I started to think, had it been, there was so much awareness and this man had gotten therapy, right? It would have been better.
Yes, and he would have been exceptional.
Yes,
because
exactly.
he had the whole calculation thing.
Do you know of Albert Einstein?
Yeah.
Albert Einstein.
He was on the spectrum.
Yeah, he was on the spectrum. Yeah, and was even sent out of school.
Yeah.
Funny enough, the person we sent out of school, we are actually studying what he invented in school till today. So what he actually invented has actually outlived him. Imagine. So Albert Einstein was actually on the spectrum and yet is a genius.
There's so many people that are public figures and geniuses today that are on the spectrum.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, but what I believe parents should do is early intervention.
Definitely.
It cannot be overemphasized.
Definitely. Parents' early intervention matters a lot.
Matters a whole lot.
It matters a lot, yeah.
Because I know what he has done for my daughter. Early intervention is very important. We can't just leave them and say they will outgrow it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They will not outgrow it though.
No. You just can't be on the fence. I keep saying that. No.
You have to do something about it.
Exactly. You have to do something about it.
So how can the government come in to help a lot of people? Because we have many people in villages, if I can use that word, that have children, both on the autism spectrum,
ADHD.
Down syndrome, ADHD, all of the neurodiversity, and they cannot afford these things. Therapy is expensive.
Yeah.
So how do you think the government can come in to help?
Okay. First, I would say by following up with schools, right? Um, you see, the governments actually have a regulatory bodies, that are in charge of when it comes to special needs and neurodivergence, right? But the regulatory bodies are not really putting their hands on deck.
Mhm.
Yeah. For example, checking in on schools who claim to be inclusive. All right. We know the financial aspect is quite on the high side and maybe tedious for parents to meet up with, and I think that's one area we need to look into and the government needs to come into, so that even if it's half of the tuition fee,
Can be subsidized.
yeah, so that it can be subsidized, okay, it will actually go a long way, because some parents are really not going into therapy per se as therapy is expected to be because of financial challenges. Yeah. So saying that they have to pay hundreds of thousands, right? They rather
Sometimes
just
millions.
Yeah, millions, So sometimes they rather just leave the child like that. Meanwhile, the therapy would have gone a long way in helping the child to become better. So subsidizing the fee, right, would actually help. Then also making sure regulatory bodies are also putting their hands on deck, especially when it comes to inclusive school. Right.
Yeah, completely. I agree. Because it's one of the things we talked about in one of our episodes, some schools that claim to be inclusive.
Yeah.
I've shared my story. We had experience like that. Our daughter was in a so-called inclusive school, but they were so not inclusive.
I've been to many schools.
Yeah, they claim to be. I think they don't even understand what the inclusion means. They don't know what it means. Actually. They feel if your child is autistic, come in. But they don't have the resources. They don't have the right teachers. They don't have what it means. They don't have anything at all that can help the child. They teach all the children the same way. So they don't even understand what inclusion means. So I feel like the schools that claim to be inclusive should, like you said, the regulatory bodies should check and make sure that they are truly inclusive. Yeah. So they can accommodate, yes.
Yeah. It's just like in the medical field, the hospitals, I believe there are bodies that goes to check if they're actually doing their job and also if the environment is conducive enough, right? The same thing should be for schools. For schools. Right? Like that. Yeah. It's just that we are not taking education that's serious in Nigeria,
which is crazy because it is the fundamental of any nation. Education is just the bedrock.
It is actually, right? So the government needs to come in on that and see to it that all of these things begin to work out, because the truth is there are policies that are actually guiding this particular area. This particular field, there are policies that are guiding it, but it's just that it's not being followed up with.
Yeah.
Right.
You're right. So we've come to the end of this session. I just want you to say a word or two to parents who have children that has ADHD. What word of encouragement would you pass to them?
All right. So to parents out there watching us, if you have a child who's experiencing ADHD, it's best for you to ensure that your child goes through the therapy and also ensure that you follow through with your child in whichever way would actually best benefit that particular child. Because I promise you, your child is actually going to bring out something great from whatever is experiencing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stephen, for spending time with us today. Thank you to our listeners for taking out their time to spend time with us on this episode. We do hope this resonates with you. And if you have anybody or any parent or caregiver or whoever it is that this would benefit, please do share it with them. We thank you once again for staying with us today, and we hope to have you next week. Until then, do take care of yourself.